All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome back to True Crime Loser. I hope you're doing well. So, 2 days ago, Jussie Smollett was back in court after a year of what I assume was spent on couches Googling his own name. He's back. He pleaded not guilty again, because that worked out fabulous last time. His lawyer, Tina Gladian, filed a few motions, one of which, the most important, being that the whole thing should be thrown out because of double jeopardy. The whole court appearance took less than 15 minutes. Tina Gladian spoke on her way out of the courtroom. Oh yeah, first, it's funny. So I don't think that Smollett lives in Chicago. I think he probably lives in LA. So the Chicago press was really looking forward to getting a picture of him. And he showed up with his whole family the way they always do when they walk in together. And there was the Chicago Tribune reported there were so many reporters there out in front of the courthouse trying to get a picture, and they're going backwards, going, Jussie, what do you think of these new? Everyone's trying to get a picture, and one of them tripped, and then another one of them tripped, and everybody started falling. So picture Jussie, the prodigal son of Chicago, the late night freezing hate crime hoaxer, allegedly. The gay Tupac himself, back in Chicago. The black SUV door opens. There he is. Everyone's going nuts. And then someone trips. Everybody's falling. The whole Smollett family's walking in. And then they enter the courthouse. And it's like, God, I wish I would have been there. Smollett, what are you there? You fall down. I probably would have just dived on the pile just to be a part of it. You got to be a part of something in life, And so, like I said, the big defense is double jeopardy. This whole thing should be thrown out. Why that's a funny place to be for his defense team, Tina Gladian, and they've added some other people. But why that's a funny place to be is that if you remember, the charges with Kim Foxx's office handling it pretty much just evaporated, right? You can't really say they were dropped because there was technically a punishment. He forfeited the $10,000 bond and he did the community service, which he had actually already done. But still, but it wasn't a plea deal because he didn't plead guilty. So no one really knew what it was, and that's, I think, a big reason why we're back here. But if you remember, and one of the biggest things about how they just evaporated is, if you remember, Jussie and his lawyer got to come out the day they just poof and were gone, and everyone was like, what the hell? Jussie and his lawyer got to come out and speak to the media first, which is huge because they got to control the narrative. Because you remember, they came out and said all charges were dropped. He forfeited his bond because he just wants this whole thing to go away. And people are like, well, what about the community service? Why would he do community service on something he didn't do? And her big answer was, that's his character. We had spoken to the prosecution. She just kind of filibusters. Yeah, we had spoken to the prosecution and his character and blah, 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 and his character. And it was never a punishment. And she went in on all the news shows and got grilled on that question. Like, well, if it just was dropped and he's totally innocent, what's the 10,000? If you get dragged face first through the mud by the justice system, you're not going to be like, hey, yeah, have my 10,000. I'll do a little community service that I already did, get to maintain my innocence so I can still work in showbiz. And so the Tina Gladian would get grilled on these shows, like why was the community service a punishment? And she would just go, no, it had nothing to do with the charges being dropped. It's his character. Derp-a-dur, it's his character, right? So that's a year ago. But then it became a thing of like, oh, we're going for double jeopardy. And according to Chicago Tribune's legal advisor or whatever, for double jeopardy, you would have to have a trial, a plea of guilt, or a punishment. And so now, look at that, Tina Gladian sitting there. It used to be, hey, it's his character. We donated money because of his character. Now it's, you can't punish him. He was already punished. Now she's totally rebranding the bail that was donated and the, what's it called? The community service, which he had already done, which is also just hilarious. Now that's the punishment. You can't punish a guy twice. What is this? He was punished. So it's a total rebranding from Gladian. And another pretty interesting thing about his court appearance 2 days ago is the Osundario brothers, who were his physical trainers, which he allegedly paid to be their Nigerian. He paid them to be the Trump supporters that kicked his ass. And so they were in the courtroom, just in the seating part, with their lawyer for Jussie's appearance. And so Tina Gladian, Jussie's lawyer, in her press conference afterwards was like, I'll let you guys decide why they were there, And the legal expert for Chicago Tribune did say that's really weird for a witness of that caliber for a case. I mean, those two are the witnesses for the whole thing, that they would show up just to be spectators. But what I think I think it's a power move. It's like, if you're not telling the truth, if Jussie is telling the truth, and these two dudes who are tracked on their Uber, who to the scene, who are tracked out of the scene, they were on the pictures from the security camera in the big interview where Jussie was like, oh, then it became a ding-a-like. They showed him a picture of the two brothers walking, like, do you think this is them? And he was like, yeah. So if this isn't a hate crime hoax to be the gay Tupac, then, it's a good chance these brothers did just assault Jussie, which is really bad and scary. And so if Jussie is right and these two brothers, why would they want to show up and be there? It's almost like bluffing Jussie. Like, who's telling the truth here? We're here. We don't mind being here. We got nothing to hide. And also, if Jussie is going to lie in court and be like, my iotas have been corroborated the whole time, it makes it a little bit harder to talk about your iotas if the two people in your scam team are sitting right back there. It makes it harder to talk about. Or, even for the lawyer, too, to be like, shit, they're in here. They're hearing all of this BS that we're rambling on about. Let me see, anything else? Oh, yeah, a funny part of the press conference where his lawyer was speaking, when she starts answering questions. Last question! Once she starts answering questions, one guy goes, is Jussie working? And she goes, yeah, he has various projects going. And I think a lot of it's like the project of sitting on the couch, Googling his own name. It's been a really invigorating project for him. The project of not being able to tweet or Instagram because of being totally embarrassed of the hoax that you orchestrated, allegedly. Tons of projects. Lots of them are looking very promising projects. I thought that was funny. Various projects. Just various. Double Jep. So, also the Chicago Tribune legal expert was saying he thinks it's very slim chances as they get the double jeopardy, like I said, because there's usually like a guilty plea or an actual trial. And so, parallel to the Jussie Smollett, going to court and stuff, another just hilarious, in my opinion, portion of this story is Kim Foxx is barreling towards re-election for state's prosecutor. It's in like 2 weeks. So something is funny to me just about her running for re-election during this whole case, that in a way just it came out that she was pretty much incompetent and corrupt. And so there was like a big forum for everybody that's running for the state prosecutor, kind of the version of the debates for the state prosecutor. She didn't even go because she just is going to get hammered. And even though she wasn't there, that's all they talked about is Kim Foxx fumbled the Jussie thing. It's embarrassing. You got to bring in a special prosecutor. And leading up to his court appearance, one of the narratives was coming out was this whole thing with the special prosecutor who actually donated $1,000 to Kim Foxx's campaign last time she ran. So it's an interesting way of showing that you don't like her, is donating to her campaign. So the narrative is like, this is only happening because people are trying to not let Kim Foxx win her re-election. And Kim Foxx is like, when on February 11th, when Dan Webb came back with the new charges, Kim Foxx was like, this is Comey-like timing, referring to how Comey restarted the investigation a few weeks before the election with Hillary, and it, Comey-like this timing. So Kim Foxx now thinks that Dan Webb is the Comey of the Chicago state prosecutor scene. And, it's like, sorry, Kim, I don't know what you want us to do. It's like the trial you fumbled the whole thing, and it's got to just keep moving. The timing sucks, but I feel like Kim's like, you guys, this isn't fair. You're letting my career-ruining mistake ruin my career. What is that? It happened, And this whole time, at the beginning of her re-election, she put out a campaign ad that's like, the Jussie Smollett thing, I own that. Kind of for the first time saying like, yeah, I own that. It wasn't good. But then a time later, she was given a speech at some dinner. She was asked about it, and her answer went totally step back. I'm going to own it, and went to, I handled it right. I handle nonviolent. That's her like word that she's clinging on to with how she handled this one right. Nonviolent, as if it was just a young teenager from the neighborhood that got busted with weed. We handle nonviolent cases differently in the Kim Foxx office, but it's like that. That's not it. He's a famous, connected celebrity, and so Kim is like, hey, yeah, everybody's trying to ruin my career with my incompetence and my, what was I talking about? Kim, I had one more thing to say about Kim. I don't know. Just something's funny to me about her just being like, everyone's trying to ruin me with the facts of my career. That's just mean. And so then that's happening right by the whole case thing. And then The Real, which is a show similar to The View, where, 5 or 6 women that appear to hate each other take turns giving opinions on things that they know just a tiny bit about, that someone taught to them backstage. And they give their opinion while all the other women in the show roll their eyes and give the other women on the show looks like, isn't she a dumb bitch, And so they came out with a Jussie Smollett take, and Amanda Seales, you probably saw this, her take was that since, LGBTQ people are attacked every day, that this Jussie Smollett thing was low-key noble. That was her big take on it. I don't think that is going to age well. And so she, has the Amanda Seales. There you go. There's her big opinion on it. Nice job, Amanda. Low-key noble. And yeah, I think that's all I got. We'll keep following. I think he's going to be back in court like March 2nd. We'll see if the double jeopardy is thrown out or if it just keeps going. I would plead way down if I was him. I've said that the whole time. All right, I'm going to keep going. I saw regarding the Lori Daybell case. East Idaho News did an interview that I'll link it in the description if I remember. But East Idaho News found a woman that I think in the Rexburg area, I don't totally remember, but I think her and her husband like wanted to move to the Rexburg area or somewhere. And they were looking at it and they met this guy, and it was, I think, was it accounting? I don't know. Whatever the field it was exactly what this woman wanted to do. It was her goal to work in this field. And she meets this guy that owns a company in that field, either accounting or whatever it is. And so she meets with this guy, and he offers her a job, and they're all Mormon. And she says it's a little weird the way that he talks about offering her a job. It's a lot of like, yeah, God, keeps telling me to hit you up, and I keeps telling me to all this stuff, but she really wanted to work in this field at this company in the town that they wanted to be in, so it was perfect. So I think she was a little bit able to just look past the weirdness, because it's like, this situation is perfect. And then it started getting weird. And what stood out to me is in one part, she says that, her relationship with the church devolves into kind of the cult, to the point where, practicing members of the Mormon church were telling her, no, this has gone way too far. Now you're in a cult. This has nothing to do with the LDS church. You got to get out. But it was a slippery slope for her from just normal Mormon to end days, full-on prepper, new Israel, or whatever it is. And so she was saying, so she gets this job, and after working there a while, just like Chad, the guy that hired her, told her about his spiritual gifts. Right when someone says they got the spiritual gifts, it's like, all right, you're a full redardy, I'm out of here, have a nice one. And so he I have spiritual gifts, which ended up looking like, so he put he put a spiritual field of protection around their employment office. And what that looks like is he kneels down, and he eventually put the spiritual field of protection. It was just around their office, but then he put it around all of their houses too. And so he kneels down and prayed and invoked his priesthood authority. So imagine sitting there, and it's your boss, so you can't totally be like, dude, this is stupid, because he's your boss. So imagine being like, hey, good work today. We'll get that report for the, Peterson file tomorrow. And then your boss is like, 1 second. I'm going to invoke my priesthood authority. I'm going to kneel down, and I'm going to put a spiritual field of protection around your house right now. It's just like, how long is this going to take? How long does it take to invoke your priesthood authority? I got to pick up my kid from soccer practice, and then he's kneeling down. You're just like, all right, he's invoking his priesthood authority. Give him a second. He's sitting there going, I have spiritual gifts because of, I just basically deemed myself that I do. So he's invoking his authority, and sure enough, who's his friend who starts coming around is old Chad Daybell. And so what this looked like for her is she is slipping, so what she was saying is that this lady was saying her sister could Mormon write, and her and her brother couldn't Mormon write. They would slide, they couldn't. She was saying her sister has nuance with it and knows how to, take the good parts of it. Hey, we got community, we got support, our best friends are in the church, our kids' best friends are in the church. Use the good part of it, but as soon as it gets a little weird, just like, gracefully just be like, that's not us, we don't. But this woman was saying that it was really hard for her to do that just with her emotional makeup. So she was And you got to think it's probably pretty emotionally fulfilling, and you get the support group and you get all these friends and you feel like you're a part of something big. Human beings, we got to feel like we're a part of something big, or it's just, unfortunately, we can't just work alone in a cubicle and then drive home alone in a car and then be alone in a house, and then it just doesn't, it's not fulfilling. Sorry, I know it works great for the economy and stuff, but people need to feel a part of something. And so I think women, or anybody with this woman's makeup, is susceptible, because she's, maybe just a normal Mormon, and then it slips a little bit deeper, and then she gets around people like this guy and Chad, and they're going, "Am I gifts? And I'm about to exercise my priest authority on my knees." And so she was saying her and her husband thought that at any time a Mormon bishop would tell them, "Get your food supply, get everything, you're coming with us," and they got to leave, and they established these tent cities, which the woman was saying they cashed out retirement, the whole thing, to buy all these tents and camping gear. And she was celiac, so they bought a year's worth of gluten-free food that lasted. They said they bought all these cloth diapers and kid stuff, because once the whole shit collapses, they're probably gonna have to take care of other people's kids. And they went full on, which actually, that when she was talking about buying all the tents and camping stuff, that is kind of a dream for me. It's my girlfriend came up and was like, "You know what? We need to prepare. The end times are coming. We got to go to REI and buy all of the best camping equipment." I would be like, "Okay, yeah, perfect. That sounds great." But they blew all their money on these giant tents. And, eventually she realized that it was more just, she was looking to be emotionally fulfilled, and it was more of a cult. And, through talking about it to healthy Mormons, they were like, whoa, this has gone way too far. But pretty much they were saying that Chad and that crew is just obsessed with the end times and prepping and tent cities and war years. I was also laughing at the thought of, what if we woke up one morning, like tomorrow or something, and there's a news story of like a puzzled news reporter going, "Well, we didn't see this coming, but 144,000 well-trained warriors from Jerusalem showed up and broke Lori Daybell out of prison, out of jail. We got here and all the guards were zip-tied, no one was hurt, and I think it's real." What we got? So I'm going to tell a quick story. So most people know I grew up in Grand Junction, right, which is 30 miles from the Utah border. So there was a lot of Mormons in my high school, and just there's a lot of Mormons in that part of the country. And one of my uncles, years and years and years ago, 25 years ago, started to date a Mormon woman who is my aunt now. And so they're dating, and I'm pretty sure before they got married, she got pregnant. It happens. It's not the end of the world. But for Mormons, it kind of, I think, is the end of the world. But at first, she was saying, you don't need to convert, or I don't know exactly, but I think the message was, you don't need to convert. We'll make it work, blah, blah, blah. Well, then he goes to work one day and then comes home after work that day, and she, with the baby, is gone. She went back to Utah. She gets a call or gets a message or something that says, "I'm back in Utah with my parents," or whatever, and you have to convert. And so my uncle converted. And it was fine. They were Mormon. They had, got some cousins out of it. They have a bunch of kids. And it was cool for me because we would go over there for holidays and stuff, and it was novelty. They would be praying the way they do it, and me and my dad would be looking at each other, and they have huge storage of food. So I would go in their basement and just stare. They have like 40 boxes of Kraft mac and cheese. And I was a kid, so up until that point, I had maybe only seen 2 boxes of Kraft mac and cheese. Maybe like at the grocery store, 8 boxes. But to see 40 all sitting on the shelf almost was like a Warhol art exhibit or something. It was just like crazy to see. And yeah, and they were Mormon. And, you know, there was a few times where either at like a family get-together or something, someone would ask my uncle, like, you really believe in this shit? Or, you know, are you just doing it for your family? And he'd say, no, I believe in it. And, you know, I think that it was a pretty good part of their life until one of my cousins is gay. And so as he was, you know, getting late teens, early 20s, and I don't know exactly what their thoughts on gay people are, but I don't think they're down with it or understanding with it. And so my cousin's gay. My mom is like the weed smoking hippie, you know, Democrat. And so I'm pretty sure my cousin even told my mom before his parents, you know. But anyway, eventually my cousin told his parents, who are great. I love my uncle and aunt. He told his parents finally, and they were like, okay, you know. And then at some point, and I don't really know this whole story, so I'm just kind of just guessing, I guess. But at some point, they talked to the church, told them, you know, our son is gay, talked to them about it, and the church gave them an ultimatum that they just weren't down with. I don't know if they said that he's either got to be fixed or go to like where they change him out of being gay, or, you know, you gotta, whatever they said. My uncle and aunt were like, all right, well, good for you guys, but we're leaving. We're just gonna love and hang out with our son the same as before. We don't really care if he's gay. So it took a gay son, and they all of a sudden, after 20 whatever years, were just done. So it was like right around my sister's wedding when they were out. And so for the first time, like, my uncle was having some beers and my aunt was having a wine and everybody. And there you go. Everybody grows, everybody changes, no big deal. Pretty wild story, though. But I had a bunch of friends, Mormon friends in high school, too. And now I haven't stayed in contact with any of them, but whenever I see anything on social media, they're all like beautiful people and like have like a beautiful wife with 9 kids. You know, they're holding like beautiful babies with the same color hair they are, and so it's just exploded into these huge families. But I think a good lesson with the whole religion in general is what this lady said. It's like, if you can do it healthy and just, you know, take the community, take the feeling of being a part of something, the support, you know, hey, all of our kids are friends, let's go to a barbecue or something, do it. But as soon as, like, this lady said that even after she was totally gone from the church and everything, she saw that guy, her employer, the one with spiritual gifts and is going to exercise his priesthood authority. She couldn't even be around him because she knew that he could mess with her emotions. She had like looked up to him as a spiritual guide or something for so long that even though she was out of it, he could still, I don't know, get a rise out of her or something. But pretty nuts. I'm going to cut it off there. I hope you guys are having a good week. I'll see you next time. Why, Stivin' Why, last